say something, old man?
Do you think you are, you old motherfucker?
Two thugs board a bus and start bullying an old man for his seat.
Fucker, you deaf? I'm talking to you.
One of the thugs gets in the old man's face and gets slapped. So feeling insulted, he goes to hit the old man back when another old man stops them, telling them to find another seat before going to take his. The thugs turn their attention on this old man, telling him they plan to kick his ass. But what they don't know is that this old man is Vietnam War hero Frank Vega. The instant one of the thugs puts his hand on Frank, he proceeds to wipe the floor with them, with the passengers videotaping the beatdown. Because of this, overnight Frank becomes a local hero, getting graffiti drawn of him, ride-alongs with cops, and television interviews about his actions where his mother praises her son's actions. 3 months later, though, Frank's mother passes away, and he attends the funeral with his best friend and fellow veteran Klondike Washington there supporting him. After her death, Frank inherits the home and her dog Baxter. He soon moves in, along with Klondike, who has fallen onto some hard times, and later the two chat and laugh about their experiences in the war over some drinks. Klondike can't stop thanking Frank for allowing him to move in.
Thank you, man.
But Frank couldn't not help his friend out after he owes Klondike his life. The two are looking forward to the best days of their lives, especially Frank after bouncing around for most of the years of his life. Klondike then gives him an envelope containing a flash drive to keep safe in his safety deposit box, the contents of which will change everything so far.
In your mama's safe deposit box, please.
So Klondike decides to head out to get himself a pack of smokes, and this is where the movie gets going. After getting the smokes, Klondike is heading back to the house when he is confronted by gangsters Sebastian and Terrence, working for the drug lord Panther in an alley. They've been looking for him all day and demand he hand over what belongs to them. Klondike plays dumb, so Terrence pulls a gun on him. Klondike still has his moves and drops both men. So Terrence fires, hitting him in the chest, rushing away after failing to find the flash drive. Frank gets the sad news and goes to see his friend's lifeless body at the coroner's office, the sight hitting him hard. He is collecting Klondike's belongings when he meets Detective Shaw, who promises to do his best to find those responsible. Frank heads over to the same corner store Klondike got his smokes to get a drink. He comes up short on cash and asks the owner to spot him a few dollars until tomorrow, but the owner refuses. Everybody has it hard. Just then 3 thugs rush in to rob the place, but when the thug with the gun gets too close, Frank gives him and his buddies an appointment with the ER. Frank ends up going home with the bottle. He runs into a resident who recognizes him and starts complaining about the crime in the neighborhood, telling him they need real help as the cops aren't doing a thing. Later he is chilling on the porch looking over a photo of him and Klondike when his neighbor, a young kid Martin, recognizes him from the videos.
You're that badass dude from the bus, right?
The kid's got the mouth of a sailor, but when his dad comes out we see where he gets it from. Soon Frank's officer buddy Malark stops by offering to bring Frank for a ride along, but Frank just wants to chill at home. He has heard about the fight at the liquor store and thinks it's time for Frank to chill out like he caused it. Frank asks about Klondike's case, but they have no leads, no suspects, or evidence to even start. That night in bed, Frank hears how cops have found and arrested the culprit behind the stabbing of a Caucasian male that happened last night. So he confronts Detective Shaw at the station the next day, who claims they are doing their best. Frank accuses them of not caring about Klondike because of his race, calling the Indian Shaw a wolf in sheep's clothing. Shaw, however, just thinks he's being too emotional and wants to get back to work. Frank is about to leave when he remembers the flash drive and returns to talk with Shaw, only to see him playing basketball with the fellow detectives, proving his point even more. These cops don't care one bit. With this, Frank decides to take matters into his own hands, putting on the national uniform of Mexico, khaki cargo shorts, a fanny pack, high socks, and sneakers. He heads straight to Klondike's crime scene and starts searching around, where he finds the bullet casing from the shot that killed his friend, along with a chain belonging to one of the thugs with a picture of a woman inside. Frank brings the items to a pawnshop where the owner identifies the casing as being fired from a M9 Beretta, which is usually a government-issued weapon. As for the chain, the man pops it open, and by some luck recognizes the girl inside as a friend of his wife from church. The chain probably belonged to her husband, an African-American guy named Terrence who lives on a street close by. Frank wastes no time and goes by the home where he meets Terrence's woman, claiming to be a friend of his and returning his chain. Turns out she hasn't seen him in over a week, and she heard around that he's at the court playing basketball every day instead of taking care of his 3 kids. So Terrence is due for a double-ass whooping for being involved in Klondike's death and for neglecting his kids. So Frank makes his way to the basketball court, interrupting a game and asking for Terrence.
Anybody know where I can find Terrence?
The guys instantly get hostile and disrespectful with Frank just for asking. One guy then tries attacking, so Frank gives the first few guys a beating. The others don't want any share of what their buddies got, so one man tells Frank Terrence usually hangs out with a guy named Ronaldo at a nearby apartment building. Frank finds Ronaldo's apartment and just decides to burst in. Suddenly he is tackled by a man dressed as a priest thinking Frank is there to rob him, but Frank calms him down with a kick to the nuts. He turns out to be Ronaldo's roommate and isn't a priest, just playing one in the musical. Ronaldo himself is hardly home and usually hangs out at a place called the Velvet Scorpion. We then see the drug lord Panther meeting with none other than Mayor Williams. As it turns out, the contents of the flash drive are sensitive documents belonging to him. How the hell Klondike got his hands on the mayor's info is a major question, but Williams is running for re-election in 90 days and needs his documents retrieved. Now there's this old dude running around causing a ruckus, threatening to expose his operations, but Panther reassures the mayor that his men are closing in on Frank and will have the drive in no time. Williams isn't as optimistic as he is, threatening to terminate his services if he fails to do what he is being paid to do. Frank is heading towards the Velvet Scorpion when he stops to help an old woman with her groceries. Suddenly the same skinheads from the bus drive by letting off shots at him, but Frank manages to dive for cover and saves Grandma in the process, but she is just happy for the first action she's had in years. When Frank returns home, he stops to talk to Martin when his mother Amber comes rushing after his father with a busted mouth. The dad leaves, so Frank offers to help tend to her wound and invites her and Martin over. Frank gives her an ice pack, so for his kindness, she offers to make him dinner one evening. They then spend the rest of the evening chatting and hanging out. The following day, Frank is back on his mission and turns up to the Velvet Scorpion. Inside, he announces that he's looking for Ronaldo, but a man recognizes him and wants to see how badass he really is. He chooses to attack, so Frank kicks his and his buddies' asses until the bartender directs him upstairs where Ronaldo is hiding out. Frank barges in on Ronaldo, just wanting to ask him some questions, but it seems everybody's looking for a fight in this movie, so Frank almost throws him out the window,
Where the fuck is Terrence?
barely holding him by his shirt until Ronaldo tells him Terrence hangs out with a girl named Tatiana at a massage parlor downtown, and it's like a scavenger hunt at this point. Frank is thankful for the info, but decides to leave him hanging out there to teach him a lesson. Frank is heading back home when Malark pulls up offering him a ride, and it's like Malark has a GPS hidden somewhere on Frank. Malark then reveals the real reason behind the offer. Turns out news has reached back to the precinct about the bloody trail he's been leaving across the city, and Malark had to talk down his chief from issuing a warrant for Frank's arrest. Frank thinks someone needs to be getting answers, but Malark thinks he should stay away. Frank has heard enough and demands he pull over. Despite Malark's intentions, he can't just sit around and watch the cops do nothing about his friend's death. When Frank returns home, he's attacked by a large man looking for the drive, but Frank ends up throwing him out the window. He then asks Martin to check out the flash drive, where they see city plans for an oil well project linked to their neighborhood with Panther's name listed as an official contractor. Frank turns up to Tatiana's massage parlor posing as a customer and gets Tatiana herself to give him a massage. The conversation is friendly at first until Frank mentions he's looking for Terrence. She claims not to have an idea, then all of a sudden something else has come up, so she leaves Frank to get finished up by someone else. That night, Tatiana closes up and is headed home, unaware Frank is trailing her. He follows her back to her home and manages to slip into her yard. He suspects Terrence is inside, so he starts looking for a way to break in, when suddenly a neighbor holds him at gunpoint. Frank claims to be a boyfriend of Tatiana's trying to surprise her, but that doesn't even matter when the man recognizes Frank as badass. He then innocently tells Frank Tatiana's back door is always open, so Frank thanks him and sneaks inside. Upstairs, he hears Terrence with Tatiana. Frank bursts in. Terrence fires his gun, but ends up shooting Tatiana before Frank restrains him. Frank then drags him to the kitchen, then forces one of his hands down the garbage disposal, causing Terrence to scream in pain. He confesses that he's innocent, and it was Sebastian who actually fired the shot. He's too scared to say who sent him, so Frank shoves the rest of his hand into the disposal until he yells out that it was Panther, and he and Sebastian are to meet at the Bergamot loft. Frank is satisfied, then passes on the message he got from his wife.
Say go fuck yourself.
When Frank gets back home, he notices that Amber's door is busted open and what sounds like a fight going on inside. The husband is about to hit her when Frank stops him, warning him to back off. He doesn't want to fight, he just needs him to leave Amber alone. The man then tries throwing a punch which Frank easily catches and twists, warning him to straighten himself up or leave for good. Feeling embarrassed, the man leaves and Amber thanks him with a hug. She can see he's exhausted, so she tells him to go rest up and later she'll have a hot meal waiting for him. Frank doesn't rest, he spends the evening cleaning up and shaving, before turning up to Amber's place in his best suit and flowers. They have dinner out in the backyard among the flowers Amber has planted as she talks about her passion for gardening. Frank, the sweet talker, keeps Amber smiling, complimenting her cooking as next to his mother's. She's glad someone finally appreciates him, so that leads Frank to wonder why she even married that jerk in the first place. According to her, her husband was different back then, and they got married after she had Martin, so Frank toasts to Martin, the one good thing that came out of that situation. Later the two are chatting it up, and one thing leads to another, and they're about to kiss, but Martin returns from wherever he was, interrupting them. Frank hands the flash drive over to Malark, telling him it's what got Klondike killed. He can see Frank is up to something, but Frank refuses to say, just making him promise to look after the drive and Baxter if anything happens to him. Frank heads to a local church to give confession. He confesses that he has been a good person, and it won't be getting any better anytime soon since he plans to get revenge for his friend's death. Frank travels to the Bergamot loft, Panther's base, asking to speak with him. Panther himself steps out, happy to finally meet the great badass who has been making a mess across town. Frank confronts him for killing Klondike, but Panther reveals Klondike stole from him, and he repays disloyalty with death. He warns Frank not to make the same mistake and demands the flash drive.
The fuck's a flash drive?
Frank rage baits him, acting like he doesn't know what a flash drive is. He then tries attacking Panther, but gets knocked
I
out.
stuck that up your ass!
When Frank wakes, he is bound to a chair with electrical wires attached to him. Panther hits him with electricity, laughing maniacally at Frank. Panther tells him the drive contains info about a deal he has with the city, and he is bringing real change to the community. But Frank knows it's all about betraying his own community just for money. As Panther continues demanding the drive, Frank starts freeing his hands. He refuses to tell them where the drive is, so they continue hitting him with electricity, until Panther has had enough of his stubbornness. He takes Frank's wallet and gets his address, planning to find whoever he is close to there and take them out. Panther leaves to go handle business, but the instant he walks away, Frank frees himself, then causes some nearby oil barrels to explode. Frank then attacks a disoriented Panther, but Panther cuts Frank and escapes the burning building, and Frank barely manages to escape as well. Panther then steals a transit bus and takes off, so Frank commandeers one himself and gives chase. The two barrel through incoming traffic, smashing into cars, buildings, and causing chaos. Panther runs into a dead end and is forced to turn around when he comes face to face with Frank. Frank decides to put a stop to him once and for all and get revenge for his friend, before the two start speeding towards each other. At the last minute, Frank swerves and crashes, and Panther thinks he's won, but ends up getting blindsided by a speeding train. Both men have survived the crash, so Panther takes off on foot once more with Frank trying to catch up. Like a string of bad luck, Frank runs into the two skinheads he beat on the bus, who are now being bullied by elderly people after losing to an old man. They decide to make their own video this time, but in an instant they both are laying on the ground. Panther has run all the way back to Frank's address, and unfortunately Amber and Martin are inside. Panther breaks and then confronts Amber with a knife, demanding the flash drive. She has no idea what he's talking about. They start circling around the table until Frank bursts in to attack him. The fight leads outside. Amber tries to help, but when Frank sees Panther hurt her, he finds some unknown strength and begins to go in on Panther with punches until he's laid out on the floor. Amber sees how bloodied Frank is and offers to take care of him this time like he did for her. In the end, news breaks about Mayor Williams's involvement with Panther's gang, and he is arrested. Frank is made an honorary cop and the head of the community outreach program. Frank, Amber, and Martin start their new family, the happy life they always wanted. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these two videos popping up right here, so check them out next.